Welcome back to the Ref Show. The use of fourth officials and the way they're treated, and have to accept, being a verbal punchbag on the line. We're all dissatisfied with that in the game. Keith Hackett's got an idea, a big idea. Just before we come to it, a bright spot. There were some. Andre Mariner's handling of Everton 0, Manchester United 2, praised by Guy Beale on the ref camera. Sound and composed, typical of Andre.
Yeah.
I think he's this year having a really good season. I think that he looks slightly fitter on the field, and I think that's helping his refereeing. But for me, the big thing is that players are accepting him. He's chatting to them. They're chatting back. It's just one of trust that he's obviously built over a number of years.
Let's all have a good game, chaps. It's sort of the style.
Yeah, and they probably think, oh well, he's a regular guy.
He's a decent guy.
Well,
That's right. And that's why I was saying earlier, the only way to get that experience is to do more games.
Correct.
Yeah.
So if you don't put the young kids in, relatively speaking, they'll never get that sort of experience.
No. On the other side of the coin, Mike Dean, whatever you say about him, he's not afraid to give a big call, is he?
No.
As he did in West Brom Arsenal with that penalty equaliser, and which infuriated Arsene Wenger. And actually, you can see why, really, can't you?
Yeah. Positioning.
It hits the arm or hand.
Yeah. I think Mike. I've known Mike Dean a long time, and he's a good referee. Let's not take that away from him. He is a good referee. He's dependable. You can put him on any game in this country. He likes to communicate, Mike. He likes to tell people why he's given decisions, and sometimes that lets him down. And in this particular situation, his own arm signal indicating that Chambers had moved his arm towards the ball let him down again, because when the replays come through, Chambers never moved his arm at all.
But could he? I mean, the ball hit him from a couple of feet away.
He couldn't.
So
as Keith's saying, he has a side-on view, and he's not seen what he is actually indicating himself.
Right.
And that's a problem.
One of the criteria within the law and law application here on handball is distance. And the fact that these were snap, the one Craig Pawson had with a high ball.
Yes.
Both are incidents where the player has no chance of being able to react to get his hand or arm out of the way. In fact, his hand and arm weren't in the way.
No.
The ball struck the hand.
Okay. I'm going to rattle through these because I think Roger East, he had a clean sheet. No, he had cards at all in Liverpool's 2-1 win at Burnley. Leicester 3, Huddersfield 0 was Graham Scott. Stoke 0, Newcastle 1 was Chris Kavanagh, one of the new guys on the block.
Doing well.
Yeah. And Michael Oliver had this very entertaining South Coast derby between Brighton and Bournemouth, which finished 2-2. I heard reference to, I didn't actually see it myself, was there a dive by Adam Smith of Bournemouth in that game at some point?
Yeah.
That might bring the authorities in?
I think
if they're going to be consistent?
There was.
Yeah.
Right.
And don't take anything away from him. He refereed that game well.
Right, excellent.
Good referee.
Fourth officials. Keith, do something to help us and put us out of our misery.
I think we always worry about referees fatiguing, and I think over the Christmas period that becomes evident. No matter how fit you are and the journeys that you do, all you're doing is eating, sleeping, football. Very little else. And for me, I think that what they should do is they should say, right, let's take away the fourth official role for these select group referees completely, ongoing. Because my view is this: I think that we've got referees who have been appointed to Premier League games 1 week as the referee, and then the following week, 2 weeks after, they're now the fourth official of the same club. So if they've had a bit of an altercation here, he's starting to get it in the managers don't forget.
No.
Got long memories. And therefore I think this constant relationship between manager and coach becomes too familiar.
Yeah.
He's in his ear.
Yeah.
The comments like you should be out there, you're a better referee than him, are being said. Or influencing in terms of this is totally acceptable. The manager's view of that individual referee reduces, in my opinion, because the fourth official can do nothing about what's happening on the field of play.
Is this a psychological drip into the brains
Yes.
of referees?
Absolutely.
For when they next handle those teams?
Yeah.
So if it's a great idea, so if select group officials are spared that thankless duty of being a fourth official, which gets them too close to these guys who might be complaining, who is going to do that job then, fourth official? Who are you putting in?
Well, you bring in, you use it
right.
as a development tool.
And you bring your SG2
Exactly.
group of referees.
Get them running around.
And then they will get used to
The environment.
The bigger crowds, the faster pace, you know, dealing with very, very experienced managers.
And big name personalities.
And big name personnel,
Yeah, that seems to make an awful lot of sense to me. Even better, have one bench 30 yards that way, another 30 yards that way, and have the man in the middle so he didn't hear any of this nonsense.
I've got a better one. Get rid of the benches.
Right, let's move on to the Championship and one or two other matters. Before that, the Celtic Rangers Old Firm derby, are they still special occasions? Because they happen so often.
Yeah.
And despite that frequency, they always are almost as feisty as they ever were.
I think the Old Firm derby is one of the derbies in the world, and always will be. And current league form, we've said it before, goes out the window. On the weekend when this game was played, finished 0-0.
Remarkably.
But
I mean, I watched quite a bit of it. It was a hell of a good game, wasn't it? For a 0-0.
End to end.
Yeah.
You know,
how did it finish 0-0?
You tell me. But, you know, both sides of Glasgow go home relatively happy, you know. Bragging rights probably go to Rangers.
Yeah.
But having said all of that, we come back to the guy who's, you know, managed the event.
Yeah.
And Bobby Madden, as our colleague Mark Halsey said in his RefCam report, was excellent.
Wow, what an entertaining 0-0 draw. No small thanks to the referee there. It's a good point. The outstanding game probably in the Championship over the holiday period was Bristol City 1, Wolves 2, televised game. Peter Banks was in charge of that.
Yes.
Are we talking similar in terms of the entertainment and the referee?
The game was end to end and was fantastic. There was a bad challenge by Bat, the captain from Wolves, in the first half, and in my opinion, Banks did exactly what I would have expected him to do, and he issued the red card. So that got the Wolves bench very, very animated indeed, with the net result that not long after that the manager was put upstairs in the stand.
Yeah.
Now, later on in the game, when Bristol were winning 1-0, their goalkeeper, Frankie Fielding, was dismissed for dog so, quite rightly so again, and the score becomes 1-1 very quickly. And virtually with the last header of the game, Wolves win it 2-1.
Great game.
So fantastic game and a fantastic performance by Peter Banks.
Excellent.
Now we're talking about young up-and-coming referees. These are the sort of guys that we should be looking at.
Well, there's one. Aston Villa 5, Bristol City 0 was the next game, I think, for City over the holiday period. A thumping by Villa, as it turned out. Andy Davis was in the middle for that one. And I saw Sheffield Wednesday 0, Burton 3. Sorry about that, Keith. Darren England was in charge. I thought he had a good game. I really did.
Well, he's one that's, I think, been earmarked for potential promotion. He seems to have had a fairly soft, quick rise to the top. Someone obviously recognises his potential, but good that he's now beginning to get what we would say the big games.
Tim Robinson, also a younger referee, he copped Neil Warnock over the weekend, or Neil Warnock would say he copped Tim Robinson. Not had time to check the highlights, but QPR 2, Cardiff 1. Neil wasn't happy. Complained of an offside goal given and a penalty not given. Said of officials generally, I've never known it as poor. Well, you might say, oh, he's mouthing off again, but he does often know what he's talking about in regard of officials.
As a qualified referee, but I mean, I think the Neil Warnock that we see at the side of the pitch is completely different to the Neil Warnock that we see off the pitch.
Very much so.
I think at times I've always found that when he makes a comment about a referee, there's a lot of genuine truth behind it.
It was his 4th successive defeat, so watch out next opponents.
That's right.
And Neil's worst run as a manager for 9 years. How many managers can say that 4 successive defeats is the worst for 9 years? So watch out, Cardiff's next opponents. That's
well,
all
I think that's Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah?
I think Sheffield Wednesday are coming up soon, aren't they, Cardiff?
Aye, they are. It's a 5:30 game at Hillsborough. I know that because it's in my diary to cover it.
Yeah.
Keith, Roger, thanks ever so much. Very entertaining ref show, some great ideas and thoughts there. Do rejoin us for another next week. See you then.